Welcome to Insightful Gaming, your go-to spot for all things gaming. Today, get ready to have your socks knocked off as I unleash the secrets of an utterly monstrous barbarian build. This beast of a build is an ideal match for those of you hovering around levels 70. Imagine cruising through nightmare dungeons like a hot knife through butter. This build comes with a whopping dose of self-healing and enough stuns to leave your enemies dazed and confused. But enough with the chatter. If you find yourself getting excited about this amazing loadout and see its potential usefulness, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with more wicked gaming content. Now let's dive right into the heart of the build. Alright, my fellow gamers, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of our awe-inspiring skill set. To kick things off, we're wielding the dynamic fury generator, the lunging strike. This baby is a damage-dealing forward attack that allows you to pounce on your foes from a distance, letting you start the party with some swift strikes. On deck, we've got one of our primary tools of destruction, the legendary Hammer of the Ancients. Bring down your hammer with the Wrath of Ancient Warriors, causing an earth-shattering explosion of damage right in front of you. Next in line, we have the mighty Challenging Shout. This skill is a real game-changer. It taunts nearby enemies to take you on and rewards you with a hefty 40% damage reduction for a solid 6 seconds. But there's more. We're also wielding Tactical Challenging Shout. Here's the kicker. While your Challenging Shout is in full swing, every hit you take fills your Fury Reservoir with an additional 3 points. Talk about turning pain into power. Adding to our arsenal, we have War Cry. This skill gives your damage output a hefty 15% boost for 6 seconds. We're also rolling with Power War Cry, which supercharges our offense with an additional 10% damage. Next up, we have the versatile Rallying Cry, which cranks up your movement speed by 30% and resource generation by a whopping 40% for 6 seconds. Plus, it gives a boost to your nearby allies for 3 seconds. And we're not done yet. We also have Tactical Rallying Cry in our toolkit, serving up 20 more fury and an extra 20% resource generation. And finally, the grand finale, our ultimate power, Wrath of the Berserker. This skill morphs you into an unstoppable juggernaut, dishing out enormous damage and making you unstoppable. Depending on your talents, this can offer a solid 15 to 20 seconds of berserking, providing a significant overall DPS spike. Now, let's delve into our rotation, which is incredibly intuitive and easy to follow. To initiate combat, get up close and personal with a bunch of enemies and unleash all 3 of your shouts. Then set off your Wrath of the Berserker. Now you're primed for destruction. Load up your Fury Bar with your Lunging Strike, and when you're bursting at the seams with 100% fury, let loose the Hammer of the Ancients. Using our shouts and Wrath of the Berserker, we can continually rain down the Hammer of the Ancients until the wrath wears off. By this time, your shouts will be recharged and you start the cycle anew: shouts, Lunging Strike, and then the Hammer of the Ancients. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, just rinse and repeat until your ultimate is raring to go again. Alright, time to dive into the technique slot. For our monstrous build, we're picking the Two-Hand Axe Expertise. This tool of the trade falls under the Weapon Expertise category, a crucial component of Diablo 4's arsenal system. It allows our barbarians to unlock bonuses when they swing those mighty two-handed axes. With this expertise in your pocket, you'll deal even more damage to vulnerable foes. Now, if you're already rocking a two-handed axe, you should opt for the Two-Hand Sword Expertise. The idea here is to diversify your weapon expertise. So, if you've already got one type of weapon equipped, you want to pick the expertise for another type of weapon. In our case, since we've got a two-hand sword and a two-hand mace in our armory, we're going all in on the two-hand axe expertise. Variety is the spice of life, and in our case, the spice of victory. Now, let's break down our epic build even further. Starting off with our talent tree, our fury generator of choice is the energetic Lunging Strike, leveling it up with enhanced Lunging Strike, then straight into combat Lunging Strike, which bestows the mighty berserking upon you. Now let's focus on core skills. We're slotting in 5 solid points into the Hammer of the Ancients, with an additional 4 points coming from our gear passives. We'll then toss in a point each into Enhanced Hammer of the Ancients and Furious Hammer of the Ancients. The latter, my friends, blesses us with 1% extra damage for every bit of fury we possess when the hammer is cast. The trick here is to maximize this mechanism, always ensuring at least 80% of your fury is stoked before you unleash the hammer. As for our defensive skills, we're armed with the trio: Rallying Cry, Enhanced Rallying Cry, and Strategic Rallying Cry. On the offense, we're choosing Challenging Shout with enhancements, a point each in Enhanced and Tactical Challenging Shout. The tactical variant will help us generate fury even faster. In the realm of brawling, we're opting for the potent War Cry complemented by Enhanced War Cry and Power War Cry. This trio grants us 4 seconds of a hefty 10% bonus damage. We're also stocking up on 3 points each in Booming Voice and Raid Leader, extending our shout durations by 24% and healing our allies to the tune of 3% of their max health per second. Next, we're taking 1 point in Aggressive Resistance for continuous damage reduction thanks to our always up berserking state, and 3 points in Prolific Fury to fuel our Fury generation by 18% as long as our berserking buff shines. In the Weapon Mastery tree, we're donning 3 points each in Pit Fighter for a 9% damage increase against close enemies and a 6% damage reduction from distant enemies. Then another 3 points in Slaying Strike, delivering 23% more damage to wounded enemies. We're also taking 1 point in Thick Skin for additional Fortify and 3 points in Counteroffensive to dish out 50% more damage as long as our Fortify is more than half our total health, a piece of cake with our setup. In our ultimate skill tree, we're picking the Fierce Wrath of the Berserker and Prime Wrath of the Berserker for a speed and fury boost. We're also taking Supreme Wrath of the Berserker that cranks up our damage bonus every time we spend half our fury. We also got some nifty passives like Tempered Fury and Invigorating Fury. The former inflates our max fury by 3, while the latter heals us for 3% of our max life for every 100 fury spent. With an extra point available, toss it into Furious Impulse for an additional 2 fury every time we switch weapons. Next, we're choosing 3 points in Heavy Handed for a 15% critical strike damage boost for our 2-handed weapons, and another 3 points in Wallop, boosting our 2-handed mace damage by 20% against vulnerable or stun enemies, turning this into a constant 20% damage buff with our setup. In our passives, we're packing in 3 points in Concussion, granting our bludgeoning weapons a 30% chance to stun enemies for 3 seconds. If we're using a bludgeoning weapon, we bump up the chance to a staggering 45%. Lastly, but certainly not least, we're using Unbridled Rage. Your core skills deal a whopping 135% more damage, but at the cost of double rage. But worry not, our setup ensures a steady rage flow, making this cost increase barely noticeable. Now, let's dive right into our Paragon points and the strategy behind them. First off, on our initial board, we're making a beeline straight to the right, then all the way up to our first slottable glyph. Here, we're installing the Exploit Glyph, a must-have for every self-respecting barbarian. For every 5 dexterity points purchased within range, you'll deal more damage to vulnerable targets. Plus, once you've stacked at least 25 dexterity, you'll unlock an extra bonus. Every enemy damaged by you becomes vulnerable for a sweet 3 seconds. Do note, though, each enemy can only experience this vulnerability once every 20 seconds. Next, we'll journey upward to the board's exit, where we'll select the Weapon Master board. Here, you might need to do a bit of board flipping to match the setup on the screen. Feel free to hit pause at any point during the video to catch up. In this board, we're choosing our next glyph, the Mighty Disembowel. This one's non-negotiable for any barbarian. For every 5 willpower purchased within range, you'll deal increased bleeding damage. Once the willpower requirements are met, you unlock an additional bonus, a 10% chance of reducing the cooldowns of your non-ultimate active skills by 1 second each time you slay a bleeding enemy. Exiting this board to the right, again, pause if you need more time. We're then selecting the Decimator board. We're journeying straight to the slottable glyph spot, and here we're embedding the Martial Glyph. This gem grants a 25% bonus to all magic nodes within its range. Moreover, once you meet the strength requirement, you gain an additional buff every time you cast a shout skill. The active cooldown of every other shout skill reduces by 1.2 seconds. This strategy ensures we maintain maximum uptime on our shouts. Moving upwards, we exit to the top and select our next board, the Warburner board. On this board, we're gunning for the next slottable glyph spot where we're going to slot the Territorial Glyph. This gives you extra damage against close targets and a 10% damage reduction against enemies who dare come too close. Now, full disclosure, I haven't quite reached this far yet. However, you can expect an updated build in the near future when I reach level 100. Alright, let's embark on a detailed journey through our aspect selection. Also on the screen will be the passives you should have on your gear. Starting from the top, quite literally, our headgear is graced with the Mighty Relentless Berserker aspect. With this, when you land a blow on an opponent using one of your core skills, there's a possibility that your Berserking Rage might last a second longer, and landing a critical strike and you get twice the bonus. This aspect is a non-negotiable must-have gear piece for every true Berserker. Moving down to our torso, we have the chest piece equipped with the Numbing Wrath aspect. This nifty piece of gear gives you a fortifying boost each time you generate fury at your maximum limit. Imagine, in the heat of battle, becoming a force to reckon with, transforming into an unstoppable tank, holding your ground no matter how tough the fight gets. Next, our gloves come with the Ancestral Force aspect. This offensive booster is especially crafted for the Barbarian in you, allowing your Hammer of the Ancients to quake and unleash a wave of damage affecting enemies within its range. This extra punch lets you wipe out clusters of enemies with ease and quickness. For our leg gear, we've chosen the Disobedience aspect. Consider this your defensive shield, granting you the strength to resist your adversaries to withstand their onslaught. It boosts your resilience, making you more resistant to enemy attacks, and rewards you with an armor increase that lasts for 4 seconds. Let's not forget our boots, upgraded with the Ghost Walker aspect. This unique enhancement gives you swift feet, granting you increased movement speed while you're unstoppable and even for a brief period after. To top it off, it allows you to pass through hordes of enemies, offering superior navigation in crowded battles. This one's another must-have. Our weapon of choice, a heavy two-hand bludgeon, is enhanced with the Edge Master aspect. This offensive upgrade lets your skills deliver more damage based on your available primary resource. The more resources you have, the higher the damage you deal, with the maximum benefit kicking in when your resource is maxed out. Next up, our secondary weapon, a formidable two-handed sword, is imbued with the Smiting aspect. This enhancement boosts your critical strike chance against wounded foes. But there's more. When your health is in good standing, it increases the duration of your crowd control skills. This enhancement suits classes that heavily depend on critical strikes and crowd control. Around our neck, we have an amulet bearing the Berserk Gripping aspect. A Barbarian's Delight, this aspect allows for extra bleeding damage to be inflicted on enemies during a berserking rage. Any direct damage dealt in this state translates into a lingering, damaging bleed on your enemies. On our fingers, our first ring comes with the Berserk Fury aspect. This aspect supercharges your Fury generation while berserking. So, every tick of the second during your rage, your Fury levels rise steadily. And lastly, our second ring is donned with the Bold Chieftain's aspect. This legendary aspect shaves time off the cooldown of your shout skills. Casting a shout skill triggers a reduction in its cooldown based on the number of enemies nearby, up to a certain maximum. Quite the game changer in the middle of a heated battle. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this build and found it helpful, don't forget to smash that like button, drop comment below, and subscribe to our channel for more exhilarating builds and gaming content. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your week.